Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! My name's Matt and I'm a Marine. I've been out of the service for a few years now, but the training and experiences I had during my time in the Corps have stayed with me. It was a quiet Friday evening and I was driving back home from visiting my sister in the next state over. The road was pretty much deserted, winding through some dense forest. I hadn't seen another car for at least an hour, and the only sound was the hum of my truck's engine and the occasional crackle in the radio as it struggled to find a signal. As I rounded a bend, I noticed the car pulled over on a shoulder, hazard lights blinking. 3 guys were standing around it, and one of them was waving his arms, trying to flag me down. Now, I'm not the type to leave someone stranded, so I slowed down and pulled over about 20 feet behind their car. I got out of my truck and approached them cautiously. Something didn't feel right, but I couldn't put my finger on it. "Hey, you guys need some help?" The tallest of the 3, a lanky guy with a scraggly beard, stepped forward. "Yeah man, our car just died on us. You wouldn't happen to have some jumper cables, would you?" I looked at their car, and it looked fine to me, and I didn't hear any telltale signs of engine trouble. "Sure, I've got some in my truck. Let me go grab them." As I turned to walk back to my vehicle, I heard quick footsteps behind me. Years of training kicked in, and I spun around just in time to see scraggly beard lunging at me with something in his hand. It looked like a tire iron. I sidestepped his attack and he stumbled past me. His 2 buddies, who I now noticed were much bigger and burlier than him, started to close in. "What the hell, man? Just give us your wallet and your keys, and we won't have to hurt you." "I don't think that's going to happen." The guy on the left, who had a shaved head and was built like a linebacker, cracked his knuckles. "Look, tough guy, there's 3 of us who want you. Don't be stupid." I couldn't help but smirk a little. These idiots had no idea what they were getting themselves into. I tell them, "Last chance to walk away, fellas. I really don't want to hurt you." The 3rd guy, who had been quiet until now, let out a bark of laughter. "Hear this moron? He thinks he can take us all on." That's when they rushed me. Scraggly Beard came at me again with a tire iron, but I was ready for him this time. I caught his wrist mid-swing, twisted it hard, and heard the satisfying clatter of the tire iron hitting the asphalt. In the same motion, I pulled him towards me and drove my knee into his stomach. He went down gasping for air. Shaved Head was next. He threw a wild haymaker that I easily ducked under. As his fist whooshed over my head, I stepped in close and delivered a quick sharp elbow to his solar plexus. The air lifted his lungs in a rush and he staggered back, eyes wide with shock. The quiet guy hesitated for a moment, clearly not expecting his buddies to go down so quickly, but then anger flashed in his eyes, and he charged at me like a bull. I sidestepped at the last second, sticking my foot out. He tripped and went sprawling face first onto the road. The whole thing was over in less than a minute. I stood there barely out of breath, surrounded by 3 groaning would-be robbers. I say, "Now, are we done here or do you boys want to go another round?" Scraggly Beard, still clutching his stomach, managed to wheeze out a response. "Who the hell are you?" "Someone you really shouldn't have messed with. I'm a Marine, and I've dealt with a lot worse than you 3 clowns." The look of realization and fear that spread across their faces was almost comical. Shaved Head, who had managed to get back to his feet, raised his hands in surrender. "Look man, we're sorry. We didn't know. Please don't kill us." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. "I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm going to call the police and have you arrested for attempted robbery and assault." The quiet guy, who was nursing a bloody nose from his fall, suddenly found his voice again. "Come on, dude, we said we're sorry. Can't you just let us go? We promise we won't do it again." Sorry doesn't cut it. It could have seriously hurt someone who wasn't able to defend themselves. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. As I was explaining the situation to the dispatcher, I kept a watchful eye on the 3 would-be robbers. They sat on the ground looking defeated and scared. It was hard to believe that just a few minutes ago they had been so confident and threatening. About 20 minutes later, we heard the sound of approaching sirens. 2 police cars pulled up and 4 officers got out, hands on their holsters as they assessed the situation. One of the officers, a middle-aged man, approached me cautiously. "Sir, Are you the one who called this in? Yes, officer. I'm Matt Anderson. These three gentlemen tried to rob me, but I managed to subdue them. The officer looked at the three men sitting on the ground, then back at me, clearly impressed. You took on all three of them by yourself? Yes, sir. I'm a former Marine and I've had some training in hand-to-hand combat. The officer nodded appreciatively. Well, Mr. Anderson, we're going to need to take your statement. As for you three, he turned to the would-be robbers, who were now being handcuffed by the other officers. You're under arrest for attempted robbery and assault. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. After giving my statement to the police and watching as the three men were loaded into the back of the police cars, I finally got back into my truck to continue my journey home. The next few weeks were something else. Apparently, my little roadside adventure had caught the attention of the media, and they were all over the story of the ex-Marine who single-handedly took down three would-be robbers. Apparently, my little roadside adventure had caught the attention of the media, and they were all over the story of the ex-Marine who single-handedly took down three robbers. A few weeks ago, I was away for work, traveling across several counties. But my buddy Demo called me up. Hey man, we've got a problem at your place. What's going on? We've been catching trespassers on our game cameras. Some folks on off-road vehicles keep coming onto your property. I sighed, feeling frustrated and helpless being so far away. Damn, that's not good. Can you do anything about it? I'll put up a new gate. It's not much, but it might deter them. Thanks, Demo, I appreciate it. For a few days, it seemed like Demo's solution worked, but then I got another call from him. Bad news, man. They've broken through the gate. What? How? They used an off-road vehicle to smash it down. I've got it on camera. I could feel my blood pressure rising. These people had some nerve. This is getting ridiculous. What are we supposed to do now? I've got an idea. Ever heard of a SWAT stopper setup? Can't say I have. What's that? It's like a hidden barrier. We will make it look like a regular gate, but it will be reinforced with steel. They won't see it coming. I had to admit it sounded like a good plan. Demo was always full of ideas like this. Alright, let's do it. How soon can you set it up? I've got some scrap steel we can use. Give me a couple of days and I'll have it ready. True to his word, Demo got to work. He buried two 10-foot poles, leaving just enough exposed to look like a 4-foot-tall gate door. Then he welded up a gate using heavy-duty steel straps. To complete the illusion, he painted it to match the fence and rebuilt the old wooden gate in front of it. I was still away when Demo called me with an update. So set up. Now we wait. We didn't have to wait long. A couple of days later, I got the call I've been both dreading and anticipating. You're not gonna believe this. What happened? The SWAT stopper worked. Those trespassers came back with their off-road vehicle, probably thinking they'd smash through like before. But when they hit the gate, their vehicle flipped over. Holy! Is anyone hurt? Nah, they are fine. Just shaken up. One of the bikers crashed into the flipped vehicle, but they are all walking and talking. That's a relief. I don't want anyone seriously injured, even if they are trespassing. Yeah, they were pretty shocked when their usual plan didn't work out. You should have seen their faces. I chuckled, imagining the scene. So what happens now? Well, charges will be pressed against them. They are being charged with trespassing and vandalism. Can we do that? I mean, is a gate even legal? Oh yeah, it's all above board. The gate is technically part of the fence line now. It's just attached to the fence and only looks like a gate. We're in the clear. Thanks, Demo. I owe you one. Don't mention it. That's what friends are for. When I finally got back home, I went to inspect the damage and see Demo's handiwork for myself. The gate looked innocent enough from the outside. Just like any other old wooden gate, you'd see on a farm property. But behind that facade was a solid steel barrier that had taught those trespassers a lesson they wouldn't soon forget. Over the next few days, I heard through the grapevine about the trespassers. Apparently, they were a group of local kids. They've been using my property as their personal playground for off-road adventures. One afternoon, while I was fixing up some fencing, I saw a car pull up to my property, and a middle-aged woman got out looking none too pleased. I praised myself for what was coming. Are you the owner of this property? Yes, ma'am. Can I help you? My son was injured on your property last week. I demand an explanation. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Ma'am, your son was trespassing on private property. We have it all on camera. That doesn't matter. You can just set traps for people. It's not a trap, it's a reinforced gate to protect my own property from vandals who kept breaking in. But my poor baby could have been seriously hurt. I understand your concern, but your son and his friends have been repeatedly trespassing and damaging property. They are lucky they weren't hurt worse, considering how recklessly they were behaving. The woman's face turned red. This isn't over. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. As she stormed off, it was clear that the apple didn't fall far from the tree when it came to the entitlement. Over the next few weeks, things quieted down. Then I decided to reach out to some other local landowners to see if they've been having similar issues. Turns out, quite a few of them had stories of their own about trespassers and vandals. We started talking about forming a neighborhood watch of sorts to keep an eye out for each other's properties. As for the gate, it still stands as a silent guardian of my property. My story starts 6 years ago when I moved into an apartment above a bar and pizza place. The setup was pretty sweet. 4 apartments above the restaurant, each with its own designated parking spot right across a small lot. The spots were clearly marked with huge signs that said "Tenant Parking Only" in big reflective letters. You couldn't miss them if you tried. For the most part, things were great. I worked as a chef at a trendy sushi place, so I'd usually get home pretty late, around 10 p.m. or later. Occasionally, some clueless customer would park in our spots, but it was usually resolved quickly. I'd pop into the bar, they'd track down the owner, and boom, problem solved. It was a minor annoyance, but it only happened once a month or so. Then came the SUV from hell. One night, I pulled up to find this massive white and chrome monstrosity taking up my spot. It was one of those oversized suburban type vehicles, all tricked out with fancy rims and tinted windows. Whoever owned it had removed all the logos and decals, probably thinking it made them look cool and mysterious. I did my usual routine, heading into the bar to ask about it, and the conversation went something like this. "Hey, anyone know who owns that huge white SUV in my spot?" The bartender tells me, "No idea, man. Nobody's claimed it. Want me to take down your plate number so you don't get ticketed?" "Yeah, that would be great. Thanks." I figured it would be gone by morning. A week went by and that thing didn't budge an inch. The front of house manager at the bar even lent me one of their employee parking passes to make sure I wouldn't get ticketed while parking elsewhere in the lot. As the days went on, I started asking around, and my neighbors and I were all pretty close. We'd often grab pizza and drinks together downstairs, but nobody knew anything about this mystery vehicle. "Hey Barbara, you haven't seen anyone getting in or out of that white SUV, have you?" "Nope, sorry. It's just been sitting there like a big shiny paperweight." I even checked with the folks in the next building over, but no luck. By the second week, my annoyance had turned into full-blown frustration. There were nights when the lot was completely full, forcing me to park a block away and then move my car after midnight when spaces finally opened up. To make matters worse, the SUV started collecting parking tickets. You'd think that would prompt the owner to move it, but nope. It just sat there mocking us all with its presence. One night, about 3 weeks into this ordeal, I came home to find the only open spot was right next to the SUV, and I was so fed up that I didn't even bother going upstairs to my apartment. Instead, I headed straight for the bar, where I could see some of my neighbors hanging out. As I walked in, my neighbor Tom waved me over. "Hey chef, come join the pity party. We're all commiserating about our new parking lot ornament." I grabbed a seat and ordered a drink ready to vent my frustrations. "I swear, if that thing doesn't move soon, I'm going to lose it." Barbara says, "Tell me about it." "I had to carry my groceries from 2 blocks away yesterday because there was nowhere to park. Even the bar staff were getting annoyed." Our bartender chimed in. "It's becoming a real pain keeping track of all your cars now. We're constantly worried about you guys getting ticketed." As the night went on, more drinks were poured, and our complaints got louder and more colorful. By closing time, we were all pretty wasted and thoroughly worked up about the situation. I went to see my tab, only to realize I didn't have my wallet on me. Panic set in for a moment before I remembered my bad habit of leaving it on my car seat. Crap, I think I left my wallet in my car. Mind if I run and grab it? I tell the bartender. No worries, man, I know where you live, just don't forget to come back and pay. I stumbled out to my car, found my wallet right where I expected, and turned around to head back to the bar. And that's when I found myself face to face with the SUV that had been ruining our lives for weeks. Maybe it was the alcohol, maybe it was the weeks of pent-up frustration, whatever it was, in that moment, something in me snapped. I looked down at the keys in my hand and thought, screw it. Without really thinking it through, I pressed one of my keys against a shiny, expensive paint job and dragged it all the way down the passenger side of the SUV. The sound of metal on metal was oddly satisfying, and even in the dim street light I could see the deep gouge I'd left behind. As soon as I'd done it, a mix of emotions washed over me: satisfaction, guilt, fear, and a strange sense of relief. I quickly made my way back to the bar, paid my tab, and headed up to my apartment, half expecting to hear sirens at any moment. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a vague sense of dread. As the events of the previous night came flooding back, I rushed to the window to survey the damage I'd done. And to my shock and relief, the SUV was gone. It had vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared, leaving behind nothing but a vacant parking spot and a lot of questions. Over the next few days, I was on edge waiting for the other shoe to drop, but nothing happened. No angry owner came storming into the bar demanding answers. No police showed up asking questions, and it was as if the whole thing had never happened. Months later, I overheard some interesting gossip that made me wonder if there was more to the story. Apparently, the apartment next to mine had been a hub for drug dealing. The previous tenant had been arrested for selling hard drugs, and for months after, people would show up banging on doors looking for him. It made me wonder, could the SUV have belonged to the dealer? Maybe he needed a place to stash his flashy ride while he was in jail, or it was just a theory, but it helped ease my conscience a bit, imagining I'd vandalized a drug dealer's car rather than some innocent person's. Looking back, I'm not proud of what I did. Keying someone's car isn't exactly the hallmark of a mature, well-adjusted adult, but I can't deny the impact it had. It solved a problem that had been making life difficult for not just me, but all my neighbors and even the bar staff. In the years since, I've moved on from that apartment and that job. It's not a story I'm proud of, but who knows? Maybe somewhere out there is an SUV owner who thinks twice before parking where they shouldn't, all because of one drunken night and a single key.